My name's James Alliban. I'm a media artist, AR specialist from St Albans. I currently working a lot on installations and mobile art applications, and I've been working with AR for about 3 years now. So I always like to start off with the question, what is augmented reality? So I've managed to whittle it down to a single sentence. So AR is the seamless combination of computer graphics and real life in real time. Now I've kind of whittled it down to two separate kind of main categories for AR. So there's the mirror version. So this is the idea of looking into the mirror and seeing yourself with graphics overlaid on top of you in some way. So let's have a look at a few different types of mirrored AR. So there's a fiduciary marker. This is what I just showed you. This is an application I made probably a year and a half ago or so. It's an e-learning application for schools. So the idea here is, again, that you're using the marker to be able to overlay graphics directly onto this pattern here. There's also natural feature tracking, or markerless AR. So the idea here is that you're not tracking a square pattern, black and white pattern. You're actually tracking a photograph. And this is a great example of it by a research lab called StudioStube. They have their own technology, and you can see the tracking there is pretty much spot on. Face tracking is another big thing. This is probably my favorite example, actually. This is the Aphex Twin live graphics, or live visual effects team. A guy called Weirdcore and Andrew Benson. Motion's another thing that can be tracked here. So this is an excellent example by Memo Ekton, who's a very big sort of member of the Open Frameworks team, which is another sort of interactive community. So he's using his motion here, and he's using things called optical flow and a few other things he's invented to be able to create music. Another thing you can do is mobile tracking. So this is a new technology called String, and it allows you to, well, do what you're doing here essentially. So you point it at a marker, and the information is overlaid directly onto it. It's incredibly fast, and I use this for one of my latest iPhone applications, which I'll show you a bit later. This is something that's really blowing up this year, and hopefully in the next few years this will be something that's quite interesting. The iPad came out recently with the front and back facing cameras, which got the AR community very excited indeed. So this allows you to do both the first person and the mirror based AR. So in this situation you can do face tracking, and you can actually point it at a marker on the floor and see some furniture. Another really big thing that's going to happen in the next couple of years is head-mounted displays. I love this guy. Check him. He's having the time of his life. So there's two different types, two different approaches. There's the video see-through, which essentially is two screens, one for each eye, and a camera at the front of the device there. This is an excellent example called Tagged in Motion by Jung von Matt. And this is a graffiti artist called Dame. And essentially what he's doing is using the marker in this instance as the spray can to be able to spray 3D trails in AR space. So you'll see his point of view in a second. Yeah. So he's now able to actually create and see the trails that he's creating in real time. Optical see-through is another, it's probably the better version. This is a situation whereby you actually have lenses that have information overlaid directly onto them. So you're not relying on two screens, essentially. This is some research by BMW a couple of years back now. And the idea here is that you can look into these glasses and it'll tell you how to do a particular kind of procedure on a car. So a little bit about the past, present and future. So it's been about for about 20 years now. It's been a long, long time, but it's only just started to enter the public consciousness in the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 years. I definitely think that's down to the Flash toolkit, FLAR toolkit, which came out probably, I think it was mid-May, but only started really kind of happening about 6 months after that. Brands started telling stories with augmented reality, and this is definitely one that I imagine most of you have seen here. It's the first big AR campaign by North Kingdom. But this is how it's currently being used. I think you get the picture. I'll skip through this a little bit to the logical conclusion. So it's being used as a gimmick, essentially, at the moment, which is a pity, because a lot of people are sort of seeing it as a cheap trick, and it's useless. And as I said before, it kind of is at the moment, because we're not really there at the logical conclusion just yet. That's all leading up to essentially AR glasses or AR headwear, which if Apple have their way. But according to those in the know and those in the industry, you know, this is about to revolutionize the way we interact with digital media. This is an interesting demo example someone put together recently. A guy called Soren. It's the Future of Education demo. So the idea here essentially is that you'd have a camera at the front of your glasses. That is the data coming in from that would be streamed to your smartphone device. that would then go online, find out all the information, stream it back to your device, to your glasses, sorry, and then that would be projected directly onto the lenses. So you can actually see the information overlaid onto real life as you're walking around the streets, which is quite a fascinating prospect. Stories have always really taken place either in a real life setting or a mediated environment. But the unique thing about AR is it really kind of brings those two together and combines the physical and the virtual in real time, and creates this kind of hybrid environment, which I think is fascinating for telling unique stories. So let's have a look at a few different fields and how they're using AR. Start with marketing. This is, again, a couple of years old, but very, very relevant with the idea of AR storytelling. This is Living Sasquatch by Botswana. So the idea here is that you can actually create your own collection of animations here, sync them all up, and perform a story that you can then send on to your friends and family or upload to YouTube. So you can add speech bubbles, and then this Living Sasquatch is literally on your desk, and you can interact, or seemingly interact with it. Again, it's kind of a pre-rendered scene, but there were some really quite funny little stories that came out of this. This is one particular example. You want some beer? He doesn't give him any beer, and he's sad. The age-old tale. But I think it's very useful. It's a great idea to actually use AR for an advertising campaign. Specifically, I mean, no one really, a very small proportion of the population know about AR. So to be able to introduce them to AR and to integrate them into the campaign, and virtually hand your product to them in their own home or in a public space in a familiar environment, it's a very powerful advertising technique. On to gaming. So this is iPet for the PS3. I'm sure a few of you have seen this one. So the idea is that you, again, you have a marker on the floor, and this cute little bundle of pixels starts running around. He's kind of like a half monkey, half dog thing. I'm not sure what he is, but very cute. But I love the idea of, I mean, this is like a modern day Tamagotchi. I love the idea of forming that emotional attachment with essentially a few pixels on a screen, you know. This is mobile. This is an app that I did recently called Construct. So this is an investigation into generative art in augmented reality space. So the idea is that you can build these virtual sculptures by speaking or whistling or singing into your device, and they will be attached seamlessly to this this marker that you can place on the wall or the floor or wherever. So I was definitely thinking about the future when I was building this, the future of art in augmented reality environments. Moving on to, moves me nicely onto art. So this is an excellent example by Chris O'Shea. This was inspired by myths such as Land of the Giants, David and Goliath, using the BBC big screens. So the idea here is that people walk past this large screen, see themselves mirrored on it, and a big hand comes in and starts tweaking with them, giving them a little tickle, pinching them, flicking them, all sorts. Onto education. So this is an interesting kind of story game that was made by, well, you guys actually, and a couple of guys called Dusno and Hornaker. So they produced a collection of augmented storybooks for 6 to 7-year-olds to improve literacy. So their findings was that most people perceive it as a game, which is great because they, you know, you're almost fooling them into learning. So let's have a little look into the future. This is by a friend of mine, Keiichi Matsuda. It's augmented hyper-reality domestic Robocop. So he finds himself in his social media zone, allows him to see what's going on with his friends. It's really intelligent vision of the future, I think, but also quite scary. But what kind of lasting memories do we want to, you know, give people and children, in particular? You know, could the augmented be confused with reality? Could we get things like false memories or psychological dependency? Now, the debate about violent computer games has been raging for a long, long time now. You know, does the interactive nature of the medium, you know, change people's behaviour and make them more violent? So have a think about that while having a look at this demo. So he's running through the crowd, just blowing people away, and you know, it's just, everyone's clapping as well. That's the thing I can't get my head around. Everyone gives him a massive round of applause, and he's got a feeling of elation at the end, and he's all happy. Quite worrying, you know, quite confusing, I think, for young children to be brought up with this kind of media. So I think as content creators, we need to be quite responsible in the future with this kind of technology. You know, what age do we introduce children to these platforms, and you know, what AR stories should we tell? And that's it. Thanks very much for your time. Thank you.